And week 0's here. We got games. We are going to break down a football game today. Maybe 4 of them. No. See, we'll test Pat's knowledge of Delaware State, Hawaii.
All I know is Delaware State somewhere in transit.
Yeah, they missed their flight. Yeah. An 11-hour flight, and they missed it. That's not good.
Yeah. And, for the players, you're getting to go to Hawaii, and they're kind of building in a day of acclimation. There's your day on the beach is gone. I'd be really upset.
Yeah, I think their bus, basically what happened was the bus that was supposed to pick them up to drive them to the airport was either late or just never arrived. So, yeah.
Week 0, and we already got
Week 0. Yep.
College football off to a flying start here. Mm-hmm. It's probably a omen for the crash and burn that is coming. The disaster that is probably coming, even though I don't think it'll be. But there's always a disaster. The bus just never came. Ever trust that Delaware public transportation, I guess. I'm sure they had a charter bus. Yeah, that sucks. Go to Hawaii and you're there like 8 hours. You got to play and then leave. It's like we're not, did they check out of the hotel before the games?
Yeah, right. Hotels bustling them out.
Yeah. This is like high school football. Anyway, we're getting some games here. Also, most important thing going on in college football this week is our membership drive, listener drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Flying start. People are we had a post on they're posting us on their fan message boards, WVU. We're big in West Virginia now, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
We should be just dominating.
I think it's the PRT thing.
If you can dominate the West Virginia media market, you're going to kill it. You're going to kill it in this country. No. People have been posting us on social media. People said they've been telling their friends. People found a Cal fan. We do have a Cal fan listener. There's a fan, A. B, he listens. Others have said they went and they made a friend.
How about that?
So we're making the place brighter.
The hardest part of the membership drive was asking people to actually.
A lot of our listeners are kind of shut-ins.
God damn.
No. Do not stop. We need you to keep going. If you've already done one, do another. Get another guy.
I'm getting the Sharpie and I'm getting the coffee mugs. I'm just going to write CFE on them and send them out.
Do not. Oh, people have been asking about the mugs.
Yeah.
A guy wanted a koozie for his wedding.
Right.
What is happening?
We need a director of merchandise. Joe wears several hats on the podcast, our producer. Maybe he has to be our director of merchandise too.
We have no merch. We have no promotion. We have no advertising. We don't have any. We're not touring around. It's not game day. We're not sitting over in Dublin right now doing live shows.
Just enough travel budget to go to ride the PRT, Dan.
That's it. Hollywood John is his name. He's a Fresno fan, pretty sure. Although he has a picture of Kentucky basketball in his. He says, he said to me, "What happened to the koozies? We did once have a back when it was a different name show, Yahoo Sports College Podcast. We had those koozies. Remember that?"
Yeah.
And he said, "I get married in 2 weeks. Any chance I could get a Yahoo CFB koozie?" Congrats on the nuptials, Hollywood John and Mrs. Hollywood John.
Don't hold out for the koozie.
We don't have a koozie. I do think that a marriage, I think it's statistically proven, will do better if you have a lot of koozies in general. But Yahoo College Pod, whatever, what's our show? College Football Enquirer koozie would definitely help. We would lower the divorce rate in this country, but we don't have that. So you get no wedding. This is your wedding gift.
That's right.
And it's a warning to Mrs. Hollywood John. This is what you're like. What are you thinking about 2 weeks for the wedding, right? The bride is thinking of many details. How she'll look.
Wondering if he can get a free koozie from his football podcast.
What's the lighting? Will the flowers make it? the piping on the cake, the seating chart. I got a koozie.
We call them huggers, Dan. Huggers?
Oh, that's sweet.
Interesting.
Hugs
That
your drink.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. It's kind of.
I didn't hear the word koozie until I moved north.
I don't know where they came up with the word koozie. What is it? Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Anyway, I think Hollywood John lives in California, so I don't. But maybe Hollywood. What a mystery. Anyway, find us some listeners. All right, so that's it. That's your job. Once again, today's show is free. That's like all the others. So do your part. Do your part for us all. Let's talk about this game. Georgia Tech is playing Florida State. High noon. Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Florida State is given 11. Over under 55.5. We're not doing race for the case because there's only 4 games and all that. But Pat, how excited are you for an actual toe meets leather, as they say? And thoughts on this game, what you expect from each team?
I'm irrationally excited. I am way too excited for a Florida State Georgia Tech game, but it's the first game, and by God, I'm all in. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think 11.5 is a lot of points. I expect this to be a competitive game. I think Georgia Tech's in year like 2.5 under Brent Key, and he's made some progress. Word out of Techwood Drive down there in Midtown Atlanta is that they feel like they are vastly improved in the offensive line. They like some of their skill. Haynes King went in quarterback and really was pretty productive. Transfer from Texas A&M. Just turned the ball over a lot. He had 16 interceptions. He had like 2 games with 3 picks and 1 game with 4. Cut down on the mistakes, and I think they're in this game. I do. Florida State's debuting several new parts in the offensive backfield. Obviously, quarterback DJ Uyunglele, Roydell Williams, running back from Alabama. Receiving core has been remodeled. Florida State really, from what I hear, very bullish on their line play, offense and defense. They really like their defensive line. They had a couple studs held over, and then they went and got a couple more studs in the transfer portal. So line play probably will be the place to watch. How does the Georgia Tech offensive line match up with the Florida State defensive line? And then can Georgia Tech make enough plays to hang in there? And I expect them to do it. I think we're going to get, 3.5 hours of competitive football. Bring it on.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be pretty close. I think 11.5 seems big, and so do the bettors. I think it opened at like around 13 or so, and had and dropped pretty quickly to 11.5 earlier this week or last week. So I think bettors realize that as well, that maybe we'll see a tight game. I think the key matchup, as Pat mentioned, is a very veteran Georgia Tech offensive line. Returns most of their starters, I believe, like over 120 career starts returning. So that a good offensive line there against that Florida State front. Can they block that Florida State front? I mean, FSU obviously lost some members off that front from last year, but they're still pretty nasty, or expected to be. And that's kind of the big one you're circling there. Can they keep FSU out of the backfield and let Haynes King, former Texas A&M transfer, can they keep him clean in the pocket? And I think they get back there enough, to make this a pretty tight game. I would expect Florida State still to win, but I think Georgia Tech is in a position to cover the spread.
This is some classic early season 2024 college football, because I look at this Florida State team and, you go, hey, they went unbeaten last year, obviously, in the regular season, and we'll get into that in a minute, because game day is going to be there too, so they're pretty fired up for that. Then you look at the roster and it's like, okay, how many of these guys actually were contributor? Like they just lost so much, but Mike Norvell's recruited well. You figure there's some good young players, and then you're bringing in Uyunglele, and it's like, I mean, how about weird is this? Like, he was the Clemson quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's the chief rival in the league. I get. I mean, I think, I don't know, maybe Miami still is, but like, he's just, oh yeah, now I'm down here at FSU. Like, that was Clemson's. Well, I mean, Clemson focuses on FSU. FSU probably should focus on Clemson. I mean, it's just kind of weird. I don't know how good is DJU's pretty good. He was good last year at Oregon State. How good will he be here? It's really, I'll be interested to see what the will the covers, will people not cover as much or more, or like with it? Because how do you pick these games when you really don't know this roster?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of renovation of rosters and how well does it come together. Some places will pull it together better than others, but the DJ saga really is an interesting one, going from Clemson to the West Coast, then back to the ACC and to Clemson's rival. And here's your stat. The last time Florida State lost a regular season game, it was mid-2022 to Clemson, and the quarterback was DJ Uyunglele for Clemson. Now he's on the other side of it. He's a good, solid quarterback. Is he a great quarterback? He hadn't really been. He's shown some flashes. But, yeah, how much can you expect out of him? Your point about Norvell is recruited really well, and if Norvell is a special level coach, which he might be, then those teams generally just keep getting better and better, or they hit a level and maintain that level. They don't necessarily have a big draw down from a 13-0. So that I think will be a little bit of a telling point on Norvell's program building.
Yeah, I mean, he's stacked. You know, you hear the kind of cliche stacked recruiting classes back one after another, and he's done that. Can he continue the consistency on the field when you lose so many players? I mean, I think they only returned like 9 or 10 starters from last year's team. And obviously brand new quarterback. It's amazing. I was looking at week 1, not to skip ahead, but it's amazing the amount of transfer quarterbacks that are going to be starting at new schools. It feels like every team. And here we have 2, obviously, in this game we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a Rubik's Cube. It's a Rubik's Cube out there. FSU season, I'll bring up the game day is going to be there in Dublin, which is great, cool. Florida State fans have had a robust disagreement going with Kirk Herbstreit, star of the game day show.
And ESPN in general. Whether it makes sense or not.
It's true, yeah. It's deep. ESPN is the SEC network, right? And ESPN is not paying the ACC enough. And last year when they were 12-0, 13-0, Herbstreit, who is paid to give opinions on issues pertaining to college football, dared to give an opinion pertaining to college football that Alabama should be in the 14 playoff over Florida State. I didn't really share that, but I got it. I'm more of a principle guy, and so it's sort of like 13-0 Florida State deserved to get in because they should have been, because they were 13-0. That said, I much rather watch Alabama, Michigan, which turned out to be one of the games of the year, if not the game of the year, than a Florida State team with a second string quarterback. But the problem was the system. You had 4 teams. 5, this is what was going to happen. But Herbstreit has taken the brunt of the Florida State anger at getting left out, and I feel that anger is reasonable. Very frustrating when you go 13-0 and you don't make a playoff. Dial up your friends in Boise or something. But especially hurts when you're Florida State and you think this guy did this. So I would expect we're going to get a few signs. We're going to get some chants. We're going to get whatever. Kirk will handle that himself and appropriate. Hopefully that's all it is. Good nature, do a lot of boo him out, do the war chant, whatever you want to do while he's talking. The way that season ended was just so tumultuous. It's just emotional, right? Angst, just anger. That season will almost never really feel great for those guys. because of how it ended, it's a sideshow with the TV, right? It's a sideshow with game day. But can the am I wrong to think like, can the program get over that? Or is it just like, dude, we got so many new guys here and Mike Norvell's a professional. This is a professional operation and we're moving on, or not. Is that a reasonable concern? Like there's hangover from the snub from 9 months ago?
I think they can get over it. I do think.
Let me put it this way. I assume they will get over it, but is that something they had to get over, or is it like not an issue?
Yeah. In my opinion, I think it was probably something they had to get over, because I remember the camera shot during the playoff unveiling last year of Norvell sitting there, just looking shell-shocked. And I think, players getting up and starting to walk out of the room. And it's just, the gut punch of that just had to be incredible. The way it all broke down, it was such a great season for them. They were fantastic. And it's all right there. And Jordan Travis breaks his leg in a nothing game against an FCS opponent, and everything goes to hell. Your backup quarterback gets hurt. You're playing a third stringer against Louisville in the ACC championship game, and you win the game to get to 13-0, and then you still get trapdoored. I'm with you, Dan, where I thought they should have been in. And we said at the time that the playoff was lucky that something this wildly weird didn't happen before, but that's the nature of trying to cram everybody into a 4-team playoff, and Florida State ends up being the biggest victim of that setup in the decade era. And it's too bad for them. This wasn't, they hadn't gotten the 12-team playoff in order before then, but they didn't. And so, this was, a horrible thing, I think, for the players and the coaches and the fans to deal with. But, the great thing about sports is there is a next season, and we're here now, and we'll see how good they are.
Yeah, when you lose so many players, and it does feel like not a brand new team, but certainly a new team in a lot of ways. There's so many new faces that it does make it easier to kind of move forward a little bit for everybody. But obviously there are plenty of players there that were on that team, and coaches too that were on that team, and it's tough. I think we're all in agreement here on the pod that FSU should have got in for what they did on the field. That they kind of got screwed, but blame the system, as we've often say, right? Blame the system, and I'm sure we'll be arguing going forward about who between the final at-large team in the field as the 11 seed, probably, but I don't know that we'll ever see. This one reminded me. The only one this one reminded me most of, I guess, was Auburn, right, in 2004.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there have obviously been others through the years, because for so long there was just two teams playing for a championship or not a championship game at all. I'm sure they did have to get over it, Dan. I would think they've moved past it now, but I don't know. Something like this could linger over a team.
Yeah, at least a program. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it'll be a problem. But that's tough. That's tough. And yeah, we will argue over who should get the final but they're not going to be 13-0 major conference champions.
Right.
And the only thing that saved the playoffs committee, the playoff, and really all college football was the system's changing. And because remember, they were rallying, like the politicians were jumping in, and the state of Florida is going to put we're not going to ship oranges to Alabama or something. And, it was getting heated, ridiculous, but it's all it takes is so that was their one thing. And again, it's just the system sucked. Like they deserved to get in. That said, it was way better when they didn't. I can't square that circle, but Alabama was a better game and probably a more dangerous opponent, but this is what happened when you design a crap playoff, but we don't have that anymore. So very interesting. And it will bring there should be a little spice Also, the game is at 5 p.m. Dublin time.
Mm-hmm.
So game day's at 2. That's a lot of, you give FSU fan that much run up right there in Guinness. I mean, you get a nice tour of the Guinness facility. The end, you get into this nice room. They give you free Guinness. It's fresh. It's so good. So good. I could spend the rest of this podcast talking about Guinness.
I was going to say, I can almost like see you like starting to salivate there.
It's currently 9:35 in the morning. I may be at the bar by 10:15 when the show is over. That was not a good trigger for me. Where's the koozies? Hollywood John, do you have any koozies? I need a koozie. I only have coffee in this thing I'm drinking. Anyway, we'll see. Big season, big rebound season for Florida State. Interesting thing with DJU. Now, you may think DJU is like ancient, but he actually is not that old by college football standards. Class of 2020. He's just playing his 5th season.
Yeah.
You get the COVID year, right? He got COVID year, so this is it. He gets his 5th. And is this the end of the COVID kids? Maybe close?
I don't know.
I've given up the last year. I believe it's the last year. Yeah.
Last year of it. Okay. There was a great, I think it was an Instagram post by Alan Bowman, who's a quarterback. He's playing at Oklahoma State. He had his backpack on. He was out in front of his front door of it, where this house he's living in, or with this. I assume he's sharing with the other teammates and stuff in Stillwater, and he's posed up like you pose up like a kid going to 2nd grade, and they're all over Facebook this time of year, right?
Oh yeah.
And he goes, "Happy first day of 19th grade." He's in his 19th year of school now. Because class of 2018. Class of 2018. There are other 2018s. Jerry Bohannon, quarterbacks at BYU. He originally signed with Baylor. Let's see. We got Brant Cuthey from originally signed.
Cuthey.
Yeah, he's still at Utah. Yeah. Signed with Utah.
So's
still
Cam
there.
Rising.
Cam Rising originally signed at Texas, but now is at Utah.
Yeah.
How is this kid never even transferred in? Did he go on a mission or no? He led the Utes in receptions in 19 and 20. Didn't play in 2023. Played 4 games in 2022.
Yeah. Injury.
Went to Utah with his brother Blake, who's worked at Goldman Sachs for more than 2 years. This is according to Adam Gorney of Rivals. Okay, so
yeah, Blake saying to Brand, I went out and got a job. What are you doing?
And they go, you can make a lot of money in NIL. Well, how about Goldman Sachs? I can make pretty good money over there. And then Cam Rising, yes, and then there's Tyler Show at Louisville.
Shuff.
Sorry, all these years and I still didn't get your name right. Sorry, he was a quarterback that signed at Oregon in 2018 class. And then we have the champ, Cam McCormick. Cam McCormick is a tight end. He's at Miami, Florida. He's from Bend, Oregon. Originally signed at Oregon. Class of 2016. Same recruiting class as the Rhode Island Rams picked up a young stud named Joe Delone, who happens to be our producer. Joe, did you turn down an Oregon offer? We can't quite play his thing, but he says no. Okay, so the Rams got Joe. Oregon got Cam. Cam's still going. 2016. He committed on March 1st, 2015. To say how old he is, the number 1 player in the class that year was Rashawn Gary from New Jersey, who went to Michigan. Rashawn Gary is about to start his 6th season in the National Football League. Old school, baby.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be you'd get some of these old guys that, like, they they didn't go to college right away. They went and joined the military or something, and then they went to college. Cam McCormick's been in college the whole damn time. He's the same age as my middle son, who was class of 2016, went to Georgia, swam there, got a master's, and has been out working, for I don't know how many years now. It's hard to imagine still being on campus.
Yeah, this is I was reading this bio, and obviously he was at Oregon before he got to Miami. So in the bio, it says before Miami, and then it has a colon. Spent first 7 seasons of career at Oregon. It's just such a bizarre few words to read in a college player bio. Spent first 7 seasons of career at Oregon. Incredible.
This guy is my hero, Cam McCormick. I mean, listen, he's 26. You want to live in Miami about that age?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, I could go get a real job, or I could go play football down Miami. Maybe I got a check before Life Wallet's stock didn't do so well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is it. Don't quit. You know what most 26-year-olds doing? They're begging podcast hosts for koozies for their wedding. I don't know how old Hollywood John is. This guy's living the life.
Yeah.
This is our spirit animal, Cam McCormick. 9th season. Good job, man. Small sample Heisman just for showing up. Participate.
Yeah, right,
you want a participation trophy? You got one.
Keep participating.
You participated.
Casey Thompson, quarterback. I think he's a 7th-year guy. 4 years at Texas, he redshirted, and then I played 3 with Tom Herman. Then he went to Nebraska. Then he went to Florida Atlantic, and now he's at Oklahoma. 4th school in 4 years for Casey.
Yeah.
You, by the way, Dan, Miami, as they do with NIL, they've dabbled in NIL, the school and the collective.
Have they?
Quite a bit. Yeah, quite a bit. By the way,
started in 1984.
That was a different kind of NIL.
Nevin Shapiro calls it Nevin image and likeness.
In fact, I don't even know if
he was the pioneer.
We've discussed the John Ruiz situation at Miami, but the big booster that was powering much of the NIL early on, of course, is in a little bit of business trouble, I believe. Not so surprising for many people. But anyway, what I was saying is on McCormick's bio page, there is NIL opportunities where fans can actually click, and see pricing for what it would be for Cam to engage with you in some way. And, Dan, you can get an autograph from Cam McCormick, Mr. 9th year in college, for $86, as little as $86.
$86.
There you go.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give him, without even playing a game, small sample Heisman. You are my hero, Cam. I wish I was kicking around Coral Gables on that. John Ruiz, I don't want to get into whatever happened with his company. I never understood how Life Wallet was making this much money. But it's a weird world. My favorite John Ruiz story was not how he got in and got the Cavender twins to come and all his different fights and the way he kind of suckered Florida Collective, the Gator Collective, to bid on what was that? Rashada.
Rashada.
I mean, he's been in the mix. I like him. Now he's barely podium. I don't know if he even podiums on scandalous figures at Miami. He's definitely not Nevin Shapiro. Yeah. He's not he's not Luther Campbell.
No.
Uncle Luke. But he gave it a good run. But his best proposal was when he wanted to tear down Coral Gables High School to build a football stadium for the Miami Hurricanes, and then was kind of surprised when the people of Coral Gables said, we're using that.
You're not.
Sorry, we need that.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Dude with a shell company that's got no actual money. No, you can't have our public high school stadium.
we need a high school. I mean, it's a novel concept. Yes, our city would like to have a high school.
I hope they did tell him, we're using that.
Yeah, it was pretty much it. Where you were, well, he was gonna build a new high school like in the stadium. So there'd be a stadium, and then the high school. It probably would have been really cool, but it was going to take. I mean, it's not really going to work when you got like a kid who's in 8th grade. You're like, oh, next 4 years, you get to go to a construction site so we can build. Anyway, the mindset of billionaires was always fascinating. Let's just tear down that high school. That's a good land over there. Like, we're using that. It's kind of like a thing in each city. Each city, they have we educate the kids. Did you go to school? What? Novel idea. Anyway, good for him. Good for him.
As he piped down on Twitter, he was a big talker on Twitter about how
I don't know.
Dominate everything, and
maybe he'll be back. Don't worry, they all come back.
Well, they never leave. That's for sure.
All right, we'll be back right after this. Mike Gundy, he never leaves. Good news, he has not gotten a DUI despite pressing his 1,000 times. He's knocked back 3-4 beers and drove. So that's good. Also interesting, he talked about practice starting and what he likes most about it. Quote, the business side of what we do is now we have to have those conversations with them. So now that the season started, he says to the players, tell your agent to quit calling us and asking for more money. It's non-negotiable now. Start again in December. I told the players there's no negotiating now. Portal's over. All negotiations history. Now we're playing football. Just coaching and playing football. That's it, Gundy. Damn straight. Can't negotiate in the middle of the season.
And I do like, like just the public calling out of like telling the agents, leave us alone. We're actually going to play football now. That's good.
We know Mike Gundy would never flirt with another job at Tennessee in the middle of the season.
Not at all.
Arkansas.
Yes, would never. That wouldn't happen either. So that's a big part of it. That would be just completely ridiculous. It's just coaching football.
Yeah. The last picture I saw of Gundy with the jet black mullet and the gray beard, it was like he looks almost like a skunk now. He's got to stop. He's got to modify the. Let the hair go.
I think we've had this debate, but I disagree.
I know we have, but I can't let it go.
Who knows more about turning heads of the ladies of the South Plains than Mike Gundy, who's been doing it for a long time, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Long time.
Don't question his looks.
The man knows how to this is his thing. Swashbuckling.
It's quite a thing.
Also, innovation here. I don't think he's the first to do this, but I haven't seen this with a major team. Oklahoma State players are going to have QR codes on their helmets. I think we did this during a spring game. Didn't somebody do this?
Yeah, I don't know if it was on the helmet or on the jersey or something.
Somebody, I can't remember.
Yeah, Central Florida, maybe.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting at home and you're watching and you like a play by one of the Cowboys or the Pokes do a good thing, pause the pause the broadcast and you shoot the QR code and you can donate to the team's general NIL fund. Just like that. Does it go to each individual player or just goes to the general?
General fund.
So they all have one. See, I think they got to go individual.
That would be better. That's Sully, our former producer, he had a good wisecrack via text there. He said that, some drunk Poke fan, they're going to win some big game and the guy's going to make a play and the guy's going to do exactly that, pause and get the QR code and send like his life savings to that guy for winning the game while he's had 8 beers and he's celebrating.
There was a basketball game a few years ago, and was it Sam Houston State or Stephen F. Austin beat Duke? Stephen F. Austin.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And at the end of the game, this kid from Stephen F. Austin made a steal and ran down Cameron Indoor's court and dunked it, and then they won, and everyone was all excited because everyone liked seeing Duke lose. And I was like, if that kid had a little Venmo on his back, like how many people would have just sent him $5?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like just out of excitement. Just cash in.
Yes.
This is a revolutionary step forward to help keep Oklahoma State football ahead of the game, Mike Gundy said. It gives us a chance for everyday fans across the world to have real impact when it comes to supporting the NIL efforts of cowboy football. So
I understand doing this. I do. I'm not sure it's really practical. Like, I just wonder how, if fans haven't, if they're going to give to an NIL collective, they're probably have already given, right, to the collective. They're going to just I wouldn't think they're going to spur the moment, do it during the game, but who knows? Maybe.
It might well be as much of a PR/recruiting thing as anything else. Is, hey guys, look how much we're trying to help you guys put money in your pockets.
Speaking of money, as we always do, Alabama has given a new contract to Courtney Morgan, who is the general manager of the Crimson Tide. And Courtney Morgan is a fast rising guy. He was at Michigan under Harbaugh. He went to the University of Washington with Caleb DeBoer. He's sort of part of his lore is believing in Mason Graham, the Michigan defensive lineman who has just terrorized college football the last 2 years and his potential, I don't know what, top 10 pick, maybe higher, who, only had a Boise offer at the time out of Anaheim. Known for really being a good scout and getting good players. And he is the general manager, which they didn't used to have. Nick Saban didn't have any general manager. It was one general manager, and it was him. Kind of like, he was like Belichick. He didn't have a title. But they have given him a job. He is already elevated. I mean, they haven't played a game, mind you, from $500,000 annual salary to more than $750,000. That goes up to over $800 in salary. USC officials apparently had offered, this is according to Football Scoop, Morgan $1 million to come be the general manager out there. Pat, this is a new position. The general managers are going to be hot, and it makes sense. General managers in the NFL are unbelievably valuable. You get the right one, and you're cooking. And you're not hamstrung in college football necessarily by draft picks and stuff. Like, you can go get as many, whatever guys. So, but it's also a sign of more money being spent on football. We just invented a new soon to be $1 million position. I would say GMs will be making more than $1 million in college football by next year.
All I've been hearing for a year is that, geez, we can't afford the house payments. We can't afford the house versus NCAA settlement payments. We don't have the money. We don't have the money. Oh, but wait, we're going to pay this guy $825,000 to be our roster manager. Meanwhile, we're going to keep paying the assistant coaches more and more and more, even though they have less and less recruiting duties, because we got a general manager to do that, and we have a recruiting staff to do that, and we have analysts to help them coach too. So what this is another example that we're just going to spend whatever the bleep we feel like we need to spend for football. Even though we say we're out of money, we're going to keep spending it. And then everybody else in the other sports, too bad. Sorry, sorry about your luck. And I get we don't have to go run over the squirrel again about where the money comes from in college sports. It's generated by football and media contracts to broadcast football. But I don't want to hear this notion we're barely rubbing a couple nickels together over here. Oh, wait, we're going to pay this guy $825,000 for a position we didn't even need with the last coach.
Well, I think it's I think as a start of kind of two trends that we're going to see, which is one, just continues a trend of the investment in football from schools. And I think that under the new model, the house-related settlement model, revenue sharing, we're going to see athletic directors, and we talked about this before, they're going to invest in, a specific smaller group of their sports that drive eyeballs and generate revenue and they know that they can be successful in. And I think that's the football, men's basketball, and maybe a couple different places might do it with Olympic sports, and they'll de-invest in everything else. That's the trend we're seeing. I think the other trend, as Dan mentioned, is the emergence of the general manager position, which is kind of like a combination of the old recruiting coordinator, where a coach, assistant held the title of recruiting coordinator. And it's a combo of recruiting coordinator with player personnel director, kind of, roster type manager. And I think I agree with Dan that probably next year we're going to see at some point the first $1 million GM in college. And we kind of knew this was coming. This wasn't really a surprise. This position is going to be one that every school will have to manage a roster and organize the cap and the revenue sharing payments. I don't know that folks saw it escalating salary wise to this level this quickly, even before the revenue sharing model starts. In fact, I got a comment from one other athletic director, basically rolling his eyes in kind of letting out a long sigh over this, knowing that this is going to open the door, right, for them to have to spend more and more money on a football position. But if Alabama doesn't keep Courtney Morgan and he goes to USC,
it all falls apart. Alabama
right.
just is ruined if they don't have Courtney Morgan. They're done.
Well, I was going to say, from a PR standpoint, you would probably get some backlash, and that's from the fans, and that's how it's viewed. And obviously, Kalen DeBoer thinks very highly of him and his skills, and so here we are.
I think this is going to be big. There's going to be bidding wars. There's going to be perception. This is going to be big. General manager.
Perception. That's what we should be spending our money on. Perception. Yes,
but honestly, like, these coaches can't handle this job. I don't know. Someone has got to do it.
Yeah.
We talked to someone, there's money at stake. There's who to recruit. I'm dealing with this. The Gundy's sitting there. Don't call me as the agent. Go call the other guy. Right? Like, the NFL coach is not sitting there dealing with agents all day long. They deal with them enough. Some, but like, if you got training camp going on, you're dealing with trying to build your team, and that's what should be the focus. So it is a job that's probably overdue, but this is absolutely going to become the next big thing. All sorts of guys trying to become the general managers of these teams.
We talked about it, I think 3 or 4 years ago on the pod about this being a trending move. And now, of course, obviously with the immediate transfer eligibility, that has accelerated, I think, the need for it for sure. But again, it's just one more must-have thing for a sport that must have everything all the time.
We talked about, I mean, this is a separate, but like, we talked about like Jim Harbaugh as the coach at Michigan, but also the boss of a 200-person operation. And knowing Jim Harbaugh as much as we do, which is obviously not a lot, but I think his personality comes through. You can see why it was a total, just everything. Everyone was going in every direction. He's not a manager of people. And so, yes, a bunch of staffers got the idea, hey, let's do this, right? Or let's do, so a general manager, I think it's going to be really interesting. That's going to be a big position. Pony up. QR code that.
Hey, speaking of Connor Stallions, since you just kind of did tangentially there. Content Stallions.
Netflix
should we talk
next
about the
week?
Defensive coordinator at Mumford High School?
Yeah, Detroit Mumford High, defensive coordinator Connor Stallions. I don't know. I think the Netflix comes out next week.
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday or something. Tuesday,
28th, was it? I don't know.
27th, I think.
We will have a full breakdown, of course.
Oh, yeah.
We usually do. The Netflix stuff. Remember we did a long one on the Manti Te'o. That was one of the better episodes.
Yeah.
Manziel, we did all that. So, yeah, Connor is working at Detroit Mumford as a volunteer defensive coordinator. There was some blowback. I don't know what most people think. It's hard. I saw some negativity on, like, what do you want him to do? Like, you have to go to the gulag because he's under NCAA. It's a not well-resourced high school in the middle of Detroit. I think anybody, you want to volunteer at Mumford High, you probably can. So I think most people get that. I don't know. Do you think people are mad at him for getting this? Or I saw someone being like, what is Mumford thinking? Like, if you've been to Mumford High School, I have.
Right.
They won one game last year. It is an inner city under-resourced school.
Yeah.
All hands on deck.
Right. They barely got any staff. So, yeah, if he wants to coach
Guy
there,
wants to
absolutely.
be a coach. He's a high school
Probably
coach.
brings some major college acumen with him. If you're playing against Mumford, I would suggest shuttling in your plays from the sideline as opposed to signaling them. But no, the thing that was funny to me is like
come with him. Does he?
Yeah,
does he wear Central Michigan gear?
He should.
Beware, Tech. Beware.
Yeah.
He wants to be. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was tickled just by like there was a media stakeout apparently at Mumford practice to try to talk to Connor, and there was a long wait for whatever reason, but then when they finally had practice, he like sprinted out there, did a 4.4 from the building out onto the field, like, you can't get me out of here, can't get me. So we're gonna have to wait for the Netflix to hear from Content Stallions.
I know how those deals work at Netflix, and he is under a non-disclosure agreement that would bury him and his children if he peeps. Is maybe my suspicion. So he's probably terrified of anybody. I don't know. Those things are not. They don't mess around over there.
No.
At Netflix. I don't know. I mean, okay, good. I would, if he wants to become a high school coach, go get him.
Yeah, I mean, he's never gonna. Well, I don't want to say never, but certainly he'll have in this notice of allegations whenever it arrives at Michigan. By the way, still has not arrived at Michigan.
The draft was a month ago, or
the draft, at least 3 weeks, which makes me think that the draft, and no surprise here because drafts change, that the draft is changing in some way, or they're going back and forth about the draft. The school and the NCAA. So it hasn't arrived yet. But at some point, we will get it, and there will be a multi-year show cause for Connor Stallions, obviously. So he can't go back to college. So where do you want him to go? Go to high school. I don't know why people were angry over that, but then again, there's a lot of Big Ten fan bases out there who want him, locked up in the gulag.
It's a college football. That's why they're angry. It's like
it's not like he killed somebody. I mean, he didn't even assault anyone.
Guy volunteers at poor high school. That's outrageous.
Yeah.
Nebraska would have beat him if we only. Yeah, sure. Michigan State, you lost 49-0. Whatever. Go get him, Mumford. I don't know what the Mumford. I'm going to root for Mumford. We'll track the Mumford games this year. How about that?
Yeah,
we'll track Mumford.
Their defense maybe.
Imagine if like all of a sudden it's like, because all right, I think it's fairly well. Like maybe it was by hook or by crook, but the guy was good at getting the signs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if they just start shutting everyone out? Like all of a sudden Mumford's like, because in Detroit, there's Cass Tech, there's King. These are the ones in English Village. All three of those have like there's more NFL players last year from Detroit than any city in the country. And they all come from those three schools pretty much. And then there's the Mumfords that get steamrolled. But imagine, shock the world. Mumford High, city champs.
The Mumford
PSL
Mustangs.
Champs. Mumford Mustangs. In Beverly Hills Cop, Eddie Murphy wore a T-shirt.
Yeah, that's right. He did.
That said Mumford Athletic Department. So I know he's got gear. Like I said, does he have Central gear? Does he have Michigan? I don't know what's going on. I wasn't there for the practice, but go Mumford. Go Mumford. That would be hysterical if he turns out to be like the greatest defensive coordinator in high school football history.
So get this. Here's why Eddie Murphy wore the T-shirt. The Mumford Phys Ed department, because Jerry Bruckheimer is a graduate of Mumford High School.
Really?
How about that? One of the great producers of the modern times.
Oh, unbelievable. Well, Jerry, he made Glory Road. He made the movie Glory Road. Jerry Bruckheimer wrote the book Glory Road.
It's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah. If you want to donate back to the school, there's a QR code somewhere, Jerry. They could use $1 or $2. Let's get back to it right after this. Speaking of, it's made an appearance. One of our favorite things is Fansville. Dr. Pepper's Fansville.
Oh, yeah.
7th season. It's back. Sheriff Bosworth, the face painting guy, the grill master, all the different characters seem to be back. We have the trailer. This is how big Fansville's gotten. They're putting out trailers like their movies. It's probably the first week's ads. If you didn't get to see it, you will. Trust me. They'll show some ads. We have crop circles shaped like the college football playoff bracket. We have someone stealing the signs, not the signs of just like the street signs of Fansville.
I love that.
Tremendous. That was tremendous.
Yeah, that's
Tremendous.
Good. That's good.
Potential Tech State paternity case? What is going on with who's my dad?
Yeah.
Creepy. Okay, I was like, oh, that's deep. That's a little dark for Fansville. I don't know what that. I'm looking forward to that one. Hating conference realignment. Quinn Ewers is the guy who said, I'm the new character.
Yep.
He's the deputy. Says he's the deputy. So he's Bosworth's assistant. Oklahoma, Texas coming together.
Yeah, that could be an angle to watch.
Yeah. Crapping on the EA Sports because they didn't have Dr. Pepper in all around excellent. And then the hype train. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the downtrodden woman who's like looking at her phone or something and looks up at the camera and says, I hate my new conference.
Yeah.
Yeah. The great thing about it is obviously they study the sport. They pick up on the whatever's actually happening. It's very current and it's clever. I just think it's the best ad campaign. But remember they had Larry Culpepper, whatever, and he was kind of funny, but the Fansville ads have been a major upgrade over that.
Yeah, Culpepper was just like this gaggy, right? He served the Dr. Peppers at the stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Pete Carroll is returning to USC. You know this? To teach a class. Teach a class. It's almost as good as when Urban Meyer taught that ethics and leadership class.
Whoops.
I don't know what he did not say what he's teaching. He told a radio station, KJR, up in Seattle. He's looking forward to it.
Cause can't get him in the classroom, baby.
The NCAA doesn't extend to the classroom.
That's right.
No, Carroll's 72 years old. I would take a class with Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
I would take a class with Pete
What
Carroll.
other coaches have taught class? I remember, Mike Leach taught a class, right? Up at Washington State, I want to say.
Something like a history of war thing or something?
Yeah, in Buzz Peterson, not Buzz Peterson. Buzz Williams.
Buzz Williams, yeah.
Buzz Williams of Texas A&M basketball. He's teaching a class this year as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just announced that last week, I believe.
Back in the day, there was a lot of coaches taught classes. I think probably to add a little revenue, get paid a little from the academic side. But there, and it used to be pretty basic, like teaching of football. And and the head coach would come in for like 2 classes, and then he would turn it over to the graduate assistants or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was a ton of places where football and basketball head coaches taught classes.
Mike Leach. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, Mike Leach. What?
Mike Leach taught insurgent warfare and football strategies.
That's right. Yeah.
40 kids in Washington State.
Yeah.
They clearly let him name the class, too.
It wouldn't count for academic credit or appear on a student's transcript. So basically just signing up to hang out with Mike Leach, which I would have done.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Not an actual class. 2 stories. One was when Jerry Tarkanian was at UNLV. He heard that if you got tenure, you couldn't be fired. He was unaware, that like if you're a tenured professor, right, you are free to you can't be fired. And so then, because they want professors to be able to speak their mind and stuff, I guess, I'm not sure where that came from. Hell of a system, though. Believe me, there is no tenure on this podcast, so don't get your hopes up, Pat. Day to day for you, always. And so Tark negotiated to become a tenured professor, even though he didn't teach any classes, because he thought it would make him unfireable. Guy was a freaking genius. Didn't work because the guy, the fixer Perry ended up in a hot tub with his players, and that was pretty much it. But it was a good idea. Then there was the famous Jim Herrick Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Herrick Sr., the great basketball coach. Jim Herrick Jr., good basketball coach. and a great guy. I really like Jim Herrick Jr. He was coaching they were at the University of Georgia, and he was teaching a PE class, Jim Herrick Jr., PE 3912. Now, this thing was worth like 1 credit, but got leaked the final exam in PE. I mean, but people went bananas. It was PE. I mean, let's relax, right? It was, but it was basically a class on basketball. And this was quite famous. I have the final exam. This is a real exam. Tony Cole, who played there, said he got an A in the class, as you would expect. Although he didn't actually go to any of the tests. But anyway, this is the exam. How many goals are on a basketball court? Wait. A, 1. B, 2. C, 3. D, 4. This is the final. That's 1 credit. How many players are allowed to play at one time on any team in a regulation game? A, 2. B, 3. C, 4. D, 5. In what league do the Georgia Bulldogs compete? This could be a trick question now. Not for Georgia, but A, ACC, B, Big Ten, C, SEC, D, Pac-10. That's how old this was. In what is the name of the Coliseum where the Georgia Bulldogs play? Cameron Indoor Arena, Stegman Coliseum, Carrier Dome, Pauley Pavilion. Since there's only one named Coliseum, that would be pretty easy. How many halves are in a college basketball game?
Wow.
Halves.
Yeah.
How many?
Hint the word.
How many quarters are in a high school basketball game? How many points does a 3-point field goal account for?
That was my favorite one. That was
A1. B. Goes on. What is the name of the exam which all high school seniors in the state of Georgia must pass? Eye exam. How do the grits taste exam? Bug control exam. Georgia exit exam. This goes on and on. Diagram a 3-point line. That's diagram the half-court line.
A lot of athletes took that class.
If you go on to become a huge coaching...
That was part of the problem with the class.
Yeah, I guess so. If you go on to be a huge coaching success, to whom will you attribute this credit? A, Mike Krzyzewski, B, Bobby Knight, C, John Wooden, D, Jim Herrick Jr. So I take these classes. Carroll might be an easy grader. Might be. You don't know. That's our show. We'll be back Monday. There will be no overreaction show because there's only 4 games. We will soon shift the calendar. It'll be 3 a week. Next week, though, 2 a week. Week 1 is when it really gets popping. So don't miss next week. We got the sign stealer. A lot happening all of a sudden. We won't have to talk about old 20-year-old exams.
Rest assured, though, we will be ready to overreact accordingly to Florida State, Georgia Tech, SMU, Nevada, New Mexico, Montana State, and whatever the other game is.
Yeah. It's here, though. Football will be played.
It's here.
And we're excited.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yes.
And continue with your listener drive. We appreciate everyone helping us out. We really do. It's the way we can get subscribers. So, and listeners. So appreciate it. And we're excited, and we will talk to you later.